Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. We're still allowing people to come on in. Thank you for your patience. And thank you again for attending another Cyber Webinar Wednesday. This is going to be brought to you by Cyber Aware Webinars. Again, our mission is to provide valuable information and resources to organizations, to executives and decision makers, and empower them to improve their cybersecurity posture and practices and protect themselves from cyber threats. As we know, as technology continues to advance, cybersecurity has become a critical aspect of modern business operations, with the rise of data breaches, phishing scams, and other cyber threats. And even today, we've heard of one of our clients experiencing an issue. And so these webinars are here to help our constituents understand the importance of staying informed, of being up to date with the latest cybersecurity and practices, and also best practices to ensure that the programs that are implemented well. We invite you to join us on Wednesdays. Starting next month, we will do them twice, the second Wednesday and the fourth Wednesday, and we'll be providing more information as we go forward. Today, I'd like to, we have Reginald Andre. Again, he's the founder and CEO of Arc Solvers, a company that's been around for a while, really understands managed IT, and also has a cybersecurity practice within that. And so we're grateful to have him. So Andre, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Vernon, for the introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if you want to just confirm you can see it.
Yep, we can.
Awesome. So today we are going to be talking about what your company needs to do about the new FTC safeguard. So thank you everyone for joining. We are going to get started. So why are you here? You're here because you're in one of these industries, and you're going to want to listen up, because if you are in one of these industries, there are a lot of changes that's going to be happening by the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission, specifically for CPAs, accountants, tax preparers, finance companies, real estate and construction, healthcare, financial advisors, mortgage lenders, and car dealerships. So to put this in short, if your company handles information such as names, social security numbers, tax information, annual income information, the Federal Trade Commission is actually going to be having a law come through that is going to require you to handle this sensitive information, what is called personal identifiable information, or PII. They're going to be requiring that you handle this sensitive information a certain way. And if you don't, there's going to be repercussions and fines and penalties. So in today's webinar, we're going to be talking about exactly what you need to do in order to minimize your risk and to avoid these fines, penalties, and even lawsuits. So I want to just give you a brief background of our company. We are a cybersecurity and IT business risk management company. We have actually been voted, and you can see some of the awards back here, the fastest growing technology business by the South Florida Business Journal 3 years in a row. Our company has been in business for 13 years, and we have about 50 plus companies in our portfolio. Me personally, when I'm not doing cyber work, I am a cyber enthusiast. But when I'm not doing cyber work in the company, I also am a board member at the Broward College Foundation. Also, I'm a board member of the Mavuno Project with my wife, which we raise awareness with human trafficking and eradicating human trafficking. To the right, you'll see a little picture of some of our team members as well. So what are the FTC safeguard rules anyway? As the name suggests, the purpose of the Federal Trade Commission standards is to protect the consumer's information. The FTC, their job is to protect all of the data that flows through a business. Their job is to protect that information. And I'm sure if you've been watching the news recently, you've heard even T-Mobile last week, they got their second data breach. 35 million customers has their name, their email address, their social security information, their account number compromised. We've even heard with Paychex this week has had not Paychex, PayPal has had a compromise. Even Paychex too, a couple of months ago. So everybody unfortunately is getting hacked, and the FTC is now saying, look, this is getting out of hand. You can't just have people's information get hacked with their social security number, their income, and now all of a sudden it's okay. We're going to now put some penalties in place and force you to do these. And if you don't do it, you're going to get penalized. So to give you a recap of our agenda, we're going to talk about how the FTC safeguard rules impact your business, deadlines and timelines of this implementation. What is your very next step that you should do to get your business covered and to mitigate your cyber risk, which is the reason why this FTC stuff is being enforced anyways. So I've kind of put this into a few groups, but before we go on that, I want to talk to you about why you should listen to us. Cyber attacks are happening every single day. I actually posted something on Monday, and I said, cyber attacks happen every day. If it happens to you, it may not show up on the news because you're too small. Just because you're not hearing it on the news every day doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means that the companies it's happening to, it's too small. If it happens to the government, if it happens to T-Mobile, yes, of course, it's going to go on the news. But if it happens to a 20-person company here in Miami, Miami Herald, Channel 7, they're not going to talk about it. It's not news, but it's happening. We had, for example, City of Key Biscayne a couple of years ago. They got a ransomware attack, paying almost $30 million to get their data back. A City of Key Biscayne right here in South Florida. Broward County Schools a year ago got a ransomware attack where all of the students' information was compromised, the students' social security numbers, phone numbers, grades, transcripts. And of course, we know about Colonial Pipeline. This was during COVID. If you guys remember, the gas prices spiked up because the pipeline that actually provides the gas to the different distributors, their system got hacked and they had to stop the operations. So hacking is happening every day. And again, this is why the FTC is now starting to put the hammer on the law and say, we need to do a better job in protecting the consumer information. So our company is on the leading edge of cybersecurity. We don't compromise on security. This is one of the key differentiators with our company. Companies come to us when they have outgrown their own support. We do co-managed IT services, which is when you have an internal team, and then we handle the cybersecurity side. We have it when customers have called us because their IT guy just isn't, doesn't understand the cyber side, and they need us to take over. And we always do conferences. We do quarterly trainings like how we're the bi-weekly trainings like how we're doing now, where our team is always taking the conferences and different training. So this is why you should be listening to us as the experts. So I put this in a very simplified, because if you go on the FTC's website, it's a lot of jargon, it's a lot of pages. So we put this into 4 easy groups for you to understand. And what the 4 groups are: risk assessment by a qualified individual. So we're going to go deep into this, but I just kind of want to let you know what exactly are the FTC's guidelines and what they're looking for. The second thing they're looking for is risk management plan and ongoing evaluations. They're looking for companies now that have customers and consumers' social security numbers to provide employee training and monitoring. And lastly, they want to see that your company has an incident response plan. So now we're going to dig deeper. So we're going to read a couple of sentences here. Risk assessment by qualified individuals. You can't formulate an effective information security program until you know what information you have and where it's stored. After completing that inventory, conduct an assessment to determine foreseeable risks and threats, internal and external, to the security, confidentiality, and integrity of customer information. As I mentioned, the FTC has a lot of jargon. This is why we're doing this webinar, to kind of just give it to you straight in plain English. What the FTC wants to know is they want to know that you know where is your sensitive information. If you do have customer social security numbers because maybe you do credit checks and you have to enter that information, or you're doing some type of application that has this information, they want to make sure that you have a process in place that you know where the social security numbers are, where this PII information, personal identifier information is, and then they want to know, how are you storing it? How long are you storing it for? If you only need it for 1 year, why do you have stuff from 2019 still? What is your process to destroy this data? Another thing that they want you to do is do an annual risk assessment. Every year, they want you to look at your company, look at the data, and do a risk assessment of your company so that you can know. It's kind of like, think of your house. And now you hire an investigator to look at the house and see, how can someone break into my house? They can go through the windows, they can go through the doors, they can, whatever different ways, right? So this is the same thing, but in technology, they want a qualified individual to do a risk assessment to see, how can someone get the information? Can they get the information from a web browser? Can they get information because someone left their computer open at the front desk? There's so many different ways. And they also want a designated qualified individual to implement this. No more are the days where the board or the CEO is just saying, yeah, we're taking care of the cybersecurity and just check marking stuff. Because what's happening is, when there is a compromise and the FTC is investigating this, right now, what's happening is everybody's pointing fingers at each other, saying, oh, I thought the IT company was doing this. I thought the IT guy was doing this. I thought John was doing this. I thought the office manager was doing this, and nobody is taking accountability. So the FTC is saying, look, no more of this pointing fingers. If you guys have a cybersecurity incident, and when we come to investigate this because there's PII information, we want one person to talk to. We want one person because we're going to hold that person accountable. So the next thing is risk management plan and ongoing evaluations. They are expecting that you have a design and implement safeguards to control the risk identified through your risk assessment. So in English, you do the risk assessment. You see that you have these folders with sensitive information. You have this database with sensitive information. You have this website with sensitive information. Now they want to know, what is your plan to segment the data, to protect the data? I created this little flow chart to give you an idea. So we talked about implementing and review. We talked about knowing what information you have and where. Then the next thing that they want to see is that you are encrypting the data at rest and in transit. So giving you an example of one of the telecom companies I mentioned earlier. Why is your social security number out there? Because your data wasn't encrypted. Encrypting puts a layer of think of it as a tunnel or another layer over the sensitive information, so that even if the bad guys were to get that information, it doesn't matter, because all the bad guy is going to see is ones and zeros because it's encrypted. So every time you get a mail saying, hey, there was a possible data breach, and in order, here's a free 2-year credit monitoring, it's because they didn't encrypt your data. Because if they encrypted your data, there would be nothing you still want to worry, but it wouldn't have been a big deal as it is now. Another thing that they want to do is they want you to assess your applications. You can't just assume that Microsoft is covering you. You can't assume that Salesforce, QuickBooks is protecting you. This is just one avenue, but if you look and read Microsoft's fine print, they say that you are in charge of securing your emails. You are in charge of taking the extra steps. Microsoft, yes, is doing their job in the big picture, but even if Microsoft did everything right, it's the user, it's the employee that can do one thing wrong and all of that circumvents it. They also want to see multi-factor authentication. This is something that I tell everybody that if you're accessing sensitive information, you have to do multi-factor. And for those of you that don't know what that is, or maybe not familiar with the term, but you're using it is, even if the bad guy got your username, got your email address, got your password, what will happen is he's going to put it in, right? Username, password, Bank of America, Chase. But because you don't have because they don't have your phone and that 6-digit code that comes up via text or an app, they can't get in. And let me tell you, even with two-factor authentication, we have incidents now where we saw where even with two-factor, people fall for two-factor tricks. It's definitely a layer of security, but it's not just, oh, I have two-factor and that's it. And we're going to be talking about employee training. Dispose securely. That means that they want to know that when you're done with the data, you're deleting it, or if you have files in your office, you're not just putting it in the trash. You have a system in place that says if something is confidential, you're shredding it. You're not just putting in the dumpster, because I'm sure you all seen in the news where they go dumpster diving, they go to an office building and they take one of the bags, a random bag, they open it and they see all of this sensitive information. Don't just assume that when you put something in the trash, it's going to go into, trash heaven and no one's ever going to see it. Think about all the different points before it gets there that people can just go and just pick up the trash, open it and see what they can get. They also want to see log user activity. And this is a little more technical, but a lot of times the way hacks happen is because people leave and nobody tells IT and the login stays the same. Or after an attack, it's very helpful to have what is called a log, which is kind of like a history of what happened so that everybody can understand this is how they got in. Next thing that they want to see is employee training and monitoring. This is so important. There's a study that says that 98% of hacks happen because of an employee or user, not because something was built wrong on Microsoft or a firewall setting was incorrect or whatever the case is. It's your employees. They're taking 100 emails a day. They're clicking away. They're working. They're trying to do everything they have to do before they go home. And it just takes one time. The hackers can send 100 emails and it just takes that one time for them to be right for there to be an email compromise. So they want to see that you're having ongoing employee training. And as we're talking, please, if you guys, we see we have a lot of participants here. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to be answering it at the end. This was a good example I wanted to talk about. And this is a dealership called the Arago Automotive Group, and they're based in West Palm Beach. We're here in South Florida, so you may have heard of them. So a couple of years ago, they had a ransomware attack. Again, ransomware is when you open up a file and it's just zeros and ones and you can't open your data. And unless you pay the bad guy, they are not going to allow you to access this data. So this dealership paid $500,000 to get their data back. And this was a combination of money paid to the hackers to get their data back. Plus, one thing that you have to realize is even if you got your data back, you don't know if the bad guys were in your systems. And if you got a ransomware, you're better off just taking the computer, wiping it. Why? Because you just don't know. You don't know what they installed on the computer, on the operating system, and they had to pay $500,000. And I can guarantee you, even with cyber insurance, they found a way, because what is insurance job? We're here in South Florida. When you have a roof leak, what happens? You put a claim in, and now you're having to fight the insurance company and get your money. So I can guarantee you that they had to fight some to get with their money with the insurance company, and they had to come out of pocket as well. So this is a big dealership. What about your small business? Can your small business afford a hack like that? The last thing they want to see is what is called an incident response plan. Every business needs a what if. If you have a cyber attack, you don't want to try to figure out who to call, what to do on the day of the attack. You want to have a plan in place. You want to have a plan that you tell your employees internally, hey, there was a breach, be careful. If the news calls, if a customer calls, don't tell them anything, because we need to figure this out, and then we'll make a public statement. They also want to know that you have a plan, that you know who to call. You have breach coaches that's involved. You have insurance company that's involved. There's who's responsible. Do you disconnect the network? There's so many different things that you have to do in an incident response plan, which is why they want to see it, because what the FTC is realizing is when they're investigating these companies that have been hacked, and they're looking and they're like, man, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you call this person? Why didn't you tell the consumers? Why did you take a year to tell someone that their social security number is out on the dark web or is out on the internet? Why didn't you call them or send them a letter immediately so they can lock their credit? You waited a year. So now that person got compromised. And had you just told them, at least now the burden would have been on them to do what they had to do, but you didn't even tell them. So this is why the FTC is doing this, because cyber attacks are not going away. You may hear less of it on the news, but again, the only reason you're not hearing on the news is because they're getting the smaller companies. And every once in a while, they're going to hit the jackpot. They're going to get a big company. You're going to hear it on the news for 5-10 seconds, and then that's it. So I know I said a lot, and you're probably like, oh my gosh, how long is all this going to take to implement? So depending on where you are in the maturity of your business when it comes to cybersecurity, it could take anywhere from 4 to 6 months. This rule that the FTC wanted to implement was actually supposed to happen in December, but they got so much pushback from companies. And let me tell you why. Because there are not enough cybersecurity professionals to do this work. Did you know that we have a negative unemployment rate, which means that we are short in cybersecurity professionals? So even if these companies wanted to do it, even if your company wanted to do it, and you go on LinkedIn or Indeed or Upwork, you're going to have a hard time finding a company. You can call companies and say they're too busy, you're too small, whatever the case is, or they just don't have enough work. And when they don't have enough work, they're just going to get the cream of the crop customers and leave everybody else below. So because of that, the FTC has extended it to June the 9th. But again, this is going to take 4 to 6 months to fully implement this. We're talking about the risk assessments, the risk management plan and ongoing evaluations, the employee training and monitoring, and the incident response plan. So we've gotten feedback. We've done this webinar. This is our 3rd webinar. And you're probably now saying, man, this is time consuming. Or you may be saying, this requires a qualified professional. Or you may be saying, well, my cousin who's going to school, he has this computer, he's going for a computer science degree. Maybe I can have him do it. But guess what? Everything I listed is probably above 90% of the average IT guy. This is not just, hey, my computer's going slow, put some more memory, make it go faster, fix my printer. This is another level of technology, which is on the cybersecurity side. This is a specialty. This is not for everyone to do. And all while these 3 different reasons why you may not do this right away, you're still at risk while you wait. So here are your options. Option 1 is you can try and piece this together yourself. Can you do 2FA by yourself with Microsoft or Google? Absolutely. Can you go and try to get a company to do employee monitoring and phishing? Of course, there's plenty of them out there. But where's your time best used as a business owner? It's focusing on your business and leaving these other items to professionals like our company. And that's why you should partner with qualified people like ourselves here at ArcSolvers. And here's what it looks like working with us. We have a partnership mindset. We're not just a vendor. We are your partner in this. You're going to be getting constant monitoring of the systems to make sure that you're meeting the requirements of the FTC. And we're a top tier IT and cybersecurity company, and we're going to follow all the protocols that you need to do to stay compliant. So what are the next steps? Please book an appointment with us. If you're looking at the Zoom right now, you can just pull out your phone, open up your photos, take a picture of the QR code. It's going to take you to a website with my calendar, my personal calendar. Let's schedule a 15-minute phone call. Let's talk. Let's see how we can help you. You can also go to our website, arcsolvers.com/get-in-touch. That'll make that a little easier. And you can also get our appointment. Also, if you're not able to take the QR code, I don't know if you noticed, but you can actually take a picture of the QR code, go to your photos, hold on to it. It's going to recognize it's a QR code and then take you to the calendar. So even if you're not able to book the appointment this second, because maybe you can't just do it right now, just take a picture of it. And then once you're fully available, you can then go ahead and you can then make that appointment. So don't wait until June to get started. As I mentioned, this is going to be a 4 to 6 month process. It's not easy. And the last thing we want to do is for you to come knocking on our door before this deadline, because we're going to have a lot of this work and we want to be sure that we do that for you. We also have a special gift for you. For joining our call today, you're going to be getting an email on the top things that you should be doing to protect your business. We kind of covered a little, but we have a full 10 things that you should do that you possibly can do yourself as well. Napoleon Hill says, don't wait. The time will never be just right. So just give us a call. Let us help you. So thank you everyone so much for your time. We really appreciate it. As Vernon said, we're doing these webinars weekly, bi-weekly, and we want you to get educated in this. This is why we're doing that. So thank you, and I hope that we're going to be making some strides and having that appointment with you. And I look forward to talking to you later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you so much. That was some good information. I'm sure that everyone enjoyed that. I had a poll here that I wanted to launch. Let me go ahead and do that. If you would bear with me here. You'll see that there are about 3 questions. So the first one asks, do you know your organization's most important assets and how these are being protected? The second is, do you know if you have a way to detect a breach right now? And the third question, do you have a cyber program in place, or at least an incident response or recovery plans in place in the event of a cyber incident? So I'll let you guys respond to that. Right. Sit here and respond. Many of these things you would realize came up in Andre's presentation. As we talk about making sure we have a plan in place, making sure you're identifying the important assets or that critical data, right? You know where they are, and that they're protected. And then the last one is, do you even know how you can detect a breach? So, all right, let's go ahead and end that poll. All right. So we do see from here that the majority of you do not have a plan in place currently. We are seeing that half of you said you do know where your assets are located, or you do know you have identified your critical assets. So that's good. And do you know how to detect a breach? We have 70% are saying that you do have that. But majority of you guys do not have a program in place. So, so great. Thank you for sharing that information. That's good information for us to have. And like Andre mentioned, it gives the opportunity for us for you to partner with Andre, at least have a conversation about the next steps. Andre, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, so let me ask you a question on the poll. So kind of like a trick question there. Your most important asset in the business. For me, I'm going to say staff, employees. Was that the answer?
In this case, it was just a yes or no.
Yeah.
Do you know your organization's most important assets are?
Yeah, but okay, so if you say yes, I'm just curious to know, for me, my most important asset is my staff. Some people may say my customer, but for me, I say it all starts internally. So I was just curious to know where you were going with that.
Yeah, and that's true. And so if your more important assets is your staff, then the information about your staff, right? That data that you may have on your staff or on your customers that's the asset itself that we want to make sure that we're securing and that we're protecting.
Right.
And I think by what you just said, it reminds us that when this data is taken, it's not just affecting some inanimate object. It's actually affecting people, human beings, right? Or our brothers or sisters, the people that we're working with. And so when we're actually talking about cyber awareness and protection, we're talking about protecting human capital, human assets.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, because like I said, that was a trick question, but that was a good question, because your data is important, your people are important, your customers are important. So
all right, good deal. We do have someone just in the chat that they have to go, but they would like to have a conversation with you tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
So can you put back up your that last page, please?
Okay, sure, no problem. 1 second there.
With the QR code.
Oh, with the QR code. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Awesome.
And so that will allow them you can then, like Andre said, you can take a picture of that QR code, you can go to this link and actually put in an appointment. And so whether that be tomorrow or the next day, that will show the availability that he has to meet with you and have that first conversation. So that's great that you're taking that step to move forward. All right. So at this time, thanks everyone for attending. I don't have anything else. Andre, Arc Solvers, thank you again for the great message. And until next time, everyone be well, be safe. Talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.